You're listening to Politics on the Navajo Nation. This again here is Cal Nez. I'm your host. Welcome to all of those that are have been waiting. We had some scheduling issues, not with the candidate, which he was on time. It was more or less my time, but nonetheless, we're here. So I want to thank you for being here. Again, you're listening to Politics on the Navajo Nation podcast. Uh, I was going to do a commentary, but I feel like I just need to move right directly into the interview. But I want to, like I said, I want to introduce myself. Shade Kachidin Shle, Arot Kalistani, Pashino Nakadine, Shado, the Tani Ada Shinale, Out Oid Nenshle, Aro, Toset Dorot, Settlers Tea, Aro, Toset Dorot, what's a Argo, Settlers Tea, Argona, south of Shiprock. Ako or that is in the inbox. So you're still trying to communicate with me, and so. But yeah, the show is on, and we're going forward. So we have a guest this evening, and that is Mr. LEWNELL Harrison. He is running for the following chapters: Nahashchiri, Tohachi, Aro, Bahasta, and Mexican Springs, and Maite. I love that name, Coyote Canyon. So thank you very much, Mr. Harrison. I'll give you the time for you to introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Um, my take is home of Chief Manuelito also. She LEWNELL Harrison and she Sena Janian Shlon Akai Dane Bashichin Ishiation Che Sena Bisniation Nelle. Uh, I recently retired. My background is I worked for the Saletta Police Department and briefly with the McKinley County Sheriff's Department. And from there, I was doing executive security for other tribal chairmans and so forth. And because I was away from home for so long periods of time, at the time, my wife then was, she had applied, me not knowing that she applied, but she applied and I got a call from Ethics and Rules and they told me I had an interview and I was like, I don't remember applying for a position with Ethics and Rules. Nonetheless, the last place I was there, I was doing executive security for San Carlos Apache tribe. I was there for almost a year. And I went and I did my interview at, then the director was Virgil Brown, and he had interviewed me along with one of the white collar crime investigators, the ethics and rules investigator, and one of the ladies there at the Auditor General's office. And after on my way back home, they had informed me that that I was going to be. They wanted to offer me the position. So since then, 26 years later, I've retired from the Ethics and Rules Office as an investigator, and the last 5 years as the director of the Ethics and Rules Office. And I want to just add that toward the end there, I had put together a really good group of individuals. I had investigators. I would put those investigators up against anybody. I had a very, really good administrative staff that kept that office going. So going forward, what we discussed today, I want people to know also that they could still go to the office. The office is fully functional, and they are. You got concerns on any of the ethics related stuff, then they would be the ones to call, and they would be the ones to and direct you also. So everybody I see or hear is complaining about the government, governments like this, governments like that. And I was complaining about the government. So a friend of mine, she told me, you know what, this is the time that maybe you need to put your money where your mouth is, walk your talk, and put your head into the race. All I've done in my 26 years with the Ethics and Rules Office is investigate government. I'm pretty well informed on policies, regulations, and the laws of the Navajo Nation because we have to investigate, we have to study, we have to educate ourselves if we're going to compare that to if it's an ethics violation. And so I've seen a lot of holes within the Navajo Nation, the laws, the policies. It prevents a lot of things from going forward. It ties our hands from actually a lot of people were like, well, they stole this much money. How come they're not going to jail? Well, we're an administrative office. We don't put people in jail. We don't have that authority. And so 26 years ago, I used to investigate chapters, employees, and this was for like $200, $600. And it used to be kind of mind blowing if we caught someone uh, taking, embezzling over $1,000. The law right now with the Ethics and Rules Office reads anything over $1,000 or more is automatic forfeiture of office. Skip to now, and we were investigating, they still are investigating um, allegations of misappropriation of funds of over hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so when I left, we were trying to make a partnership with the prosecutor's office because even the prosecutor's office, our office, we're limited in our resources. We established a really good working relationship with the feds. The feds, they are limited in their resources also, but we present what we had, and they would pick and choose which cases they would go and pursue. So truthfully, right now, it's like out of my 26 years, this is the worst on both sides of the street. And when I say the worst, I'm talking about politics. I'm talking about the politicians. It's never been this bad uh, ever since I've started working with the Navajo Nation. And yeah, I'm talking about the politicians. I'm not talking about the employees. There are employees with the Navajo Nation that wow, I mean, they really there's some people that keep the Navajo Nation really functioning, and there are some dedicated employees there. There's just a few people that give some of these employees a bad name, but yeah, I mean, I use Navajo Nation employees as my expert witnesses when I go to a case or if I prosecute something. So I really got to take my hat off on some of those employees that really work through the chaos, the criticism, the long hours, and get the job done for the Navajo Nation. So my platform, my thing, all with the Navajo Nation, why I'm running, is I want to change. I want to upgrade. I want to update our policies, our regulations, and the laws of the Navajo Nation. My office, we have we set up many of work sessions to change the ethics laws and change our rules on how we prosecute people, how we investigate, all different things. And so we go through this thing about, okay, well, we're going to get all the department heads that these changes are going to affect. We get them all together. We get a date, we get a time, a place. we invite all the our oversight delegates, and we invite the federal agents that we were currently, and they probably still are, working with. We get the federal agents there because it's going to affect what they do going forward also by changing these laws and so forth. So, but when we do have work sessions, um, I was very disappointed that none of our lawmakers, the people that are supposed to sponsor these changes in the laws, they don't come to our work sessions. They don't want to. They didn't get educated in them, and it's like something's got to change. And whether it's me, um, other newly elected council delegates, but something's got to change and within the structure of the government, how it is. I mean, I've had complaints coming from the speaker's office, and I've asked them, well, let me see your policies relating to this incident or this thing or that thing. And come to find out, they don't even have a policy within the speaker's office. And so it's like, wow, that's really concerning, because anytime you start having your lawmakers, your elected officials fraternizing with staff and having a relationship with staff. They have those policies within the state government, federal government. I don't know why we don't have it here with the Navajo Nation. So a lot of these things I'm looking at, the policies, the regulations and the laws, I really want to make an effort to change those. And I still have really good relationships and communication with a lot of advocates and attorneys that support me on this. And so I want to hit the ground running and change those, because if we don't change those, if we don't change them there in Winter Rock, it's not going to reflect for us locally. If it stays the same, if those policies are the same, those regulations are the same, the laws are the same, it's not going to trickle down to our communities, and our communities aren't going to benefit from it. So we need to change. We need to change. We need to upgrade. We need to update. We need to keep up with the times. They're changing. We need to keep up with it. So that's my whole thing about throwing my hat in. I'm not a politician. I'm not that guy if you that's going to be throwing candy at you at the parades. I'm pretty sure people go to the parades to see other stuff other than politicians walking along the parade route. You want candy, give me a call and I'll take some candy to you. But I want to be in my community. I want to be in Winter Rock making this effort for change. And so that's where I'm at. And that's where I want to go. So appreciate you giving me this time um, to explain why I'm running and what my future endeavors and my what my work's going to be going forward.
Thank you. So you've presented who you are and then why you're running and your platform. So we'll move into the question and answers section. Ako here lan aro to daisio kizgito here. Thank you for joining Politics on the Navajo Nation podcast. I'm your host, Cal Nez. So we are talking to Mr. LEWNELL Harrison, and he's running for his chapters. I believe there's multiple people that are running in his area, and I'm glad he's come and joined us. So let me just kind of give you a preface of how that these questions are structured. The questions are basically is same questions, like 8 different topics, and I rotate them between every candidate. And these are basically just about general Navajo Nation government. I'm not a tribal employee. I'm not a candidate, but I know a few things or two that are plaguing the Navajo Nation. Ako, should you win, you're going to come to Window Rock, and you're going to be working for all Navajo, just not your chapter. So it's going to involve greater issues and more. No doubt, we're not asking you to forget your chapter. That's your deal. You work it out with them, and how that. And one of the questions in here is going to be, "Tuan hitsa iya ni hula nakahayos na kai ahnedo isada." There's those things that we're trying to stop. There's those things that, who's really understands the information about being a public servant versus somebody that's just looking for a job, you know. And because these career politicians, that's been the problem. So, akola, kasi, bika, you talked about some of your experience, and predominantly right now you're retired, but you also have worked in non-Navajo uh, police departments, and then you got hired by Ethics and Rules, which you basically has spent most of your career in. So I'm not going to get into specific cases. What I'm going to ask you is going to be about how that you govern yourself. It looks like I lost him.
Yellow, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know what happened.
You know what happened? I got a phone call, and after I pushed not to answer it, after that I couldn't hear nothing again. So it was probably on my end.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay. How much of that question did you hear?
none of it.
Okay. Um, Let me just kind of reset the stage. These questions are structured for all candidates. There's a rotating 8 questions that have been, in order to create fairness to all the candidates, I basically have asked these same questions to everybody. And, but it's mostly focused around general information concerning the Navajo Nation government. And because these are issues that have been going on since I entered into Navajo Nation politics back in the 1980s, and the same problems are still persisting to this day. So somewhere, somebody has got to address these serious situations. That's why I'm doing these podcasts. And it's not so much specifically about your role as a council delegate for your chapter, but more or less once you get to Window Rock, you're going to be my employee. You're going to be working for the Navajo Nation overall. So, and that's so if we can just establish that ground base of how these questions are going to go. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is that, are you an attorney?
No.
Okay. Um, since you've been working for ethics, any of those people that are currently working for these as investigators, you said that they were very qualified and a great team. Are they required to have a degree either in law enforcement or an attorney?
Not an attorney, but yeah, definitely have to have an degree, and they have to have experience in law enforcement.
Right.
And let me
Okay.
add on. I'm glad you brought up the section of that I'm going to be your employee if elected, and you're totally right. I mean, every politician out there, school board, chapter officials, whatever position you hold, You serve the people. The whole reason we have a Navajo Nation government and you're employed is to serve the people. And so, I mean, a lot of people, they get away from that and they think like, well, you're not my boss or you're not, but then again, like I said before, it's just a few bad apples that spoil the whole pot, but there are dedicated and elected officials out there, and there are dedicated employees. I'm sorry, continue with your question. You're talking about the investigators?
Yeah. Are they required to have their degree in law enforcement or an attorney?
Yes, not an attorney. They're not required to have the bar, so be barred with the Navajo Nation or any of that stuff. But they are required to have a degree and a extensive law enforcement. Well, me hiring the ones that are there now, they have extensive law enforcement experience. Um, yeah, so
Yeah.
I
So now that you've established your candidacy for your area, how are you gonna is are you gonna take majority of your knowledge and experience at ethics and rules uh, while you go to Window Rock? Are you gonna govern based on that, or is there going to be a new Lunel Harrison?
No, that's exactly what I'm taking. That's the only reason, the whole reason I'm running. And it's not only the ethics and rules, but like I said before, I've had to, and then all the investigators that were working with me, we have to study all the laws. We had to Title 26 under chapter government, which I really don't like. I hate Title 26. And Title 17, Title 2, Title 3 with the grazing officials, water board, farm boards, the Title 10 and Title 11 with elections and education. I've got a lot of issues that as it stands with those titles that really do need to be fixed.
What is Title 26?
Title 26 is the Local Governments Act. It's the one that governs our chapters. And then Title 26, remember, it only goes up to certification. After certification, these certified chapters, they hire their own uh, legal advocates to give them legal advice. They hire their own CPAs. They don't go through Auditor General's office anymore. And, in writing, it sounds like a good idea, but in actuality, I mean, I investigated a chapter that and this is public information. The only reason I'll mention it is, I mean, they were receiving millions of dollars of sales tax, and they used that to enrich themselves, the administration and the elected officials. And so their CPA was the Navajo Nation's former Auditor General, and he let them do this stuff. And it was like nobody was red flagging his audits that he would submit to Auditor General. And so, with the help of the Auditor General, our office, we investigated it, and we were actually found them all in violation. The feds got involved, special agents with the IRS. They filed on the one that took, I think they filed on her for a little over $1 million. And she spent some time in prison through uh, the IRS filing on her. I mean, you even look like, say, like our 638 schools. I think it's a good concept. We need to be, if we're ever going to be sovereign, we need to start having our own schools, having our own healthcare. But there's got to be some kind of regulations. There's got to be some kind of oversight. 638 schools every 2 years, they hire their own CPAs and they submit their audit reports to Doty, and there's nobody in Doty. There's nobody uh, that's there just to scrutinize these audits. We never got reports from the Doty to say, hey, we got some red flag things going on here, it was always reported by staff or by the elected officials themselves. So, I mean, we need to have a lot of oversight, or these are continually going to happen. And those guys, they receive millions of dollars from federal grants. And so at one time, I went to a presentation with a CPA that was doing uh, audits for multiple grant schools, and I asked him. I said, where, what if you find red flags? What do you do? Who do you report it to?" And he says, "We don't report it to nobody. We fix it." I said, "What do you mean you fix it?" I said, "These things need to be reported, because if it's reported, then they don't get authorized for another 2 years. They have to reauthorize every 2 years through the education board. But if the education board or people don't know that, wow, this is happening at this school, um, yeah. So there needs to be a lot of oversight with a lot of money that's going around and being distributed within the Navajo Nation.
Okay. Thank you for that reply. Speaking of the your role in the past, and I think that that's because if a candidate they have a certain experience, of course they're going to most likely going to govern from that standpoint. And you did confirm that if you should get elected, that you're going to utilize this. But going back to your role as the prosecutor or the executive director, I mean, you were in a high position because this has a parallel. Windarak de Yiniyago, the Ehuto Eti, the Hutushin, in the same manner that ethics and rule gets complaints. If you make it to, if you're elected, most likely the same thing is going to happen. People are going to shikan ye could and do they hut adro do hot do peso then no. Now that's almost literally a duplication of the problem with the Navajo Nation. Now here's the question: what metric, what gauge, what standards would you use to question any of these potentially upcoming situations that I just mentioned, should you get elected and you're sitting in Window Rock? What would you use to be able to give merit or demerit these complaints?
First of all elected officials, they're held to a high standard. There's a section, I think it's 3744, that in the ethics law that says that all elected officials are held to a high standard, a higher standard. So those are the standards that I abide by and I look by. And when people come up and just the way you're giving your hypothetical, it's like I've been in this position long enough that I think a lot of delegates overstep their authority. Okay. So I got one case left with the Ethics and Rules Office that I'm going to testify on concerning a council delegate overstepping the authority. Um, there's another case with school board members, but the investigator, she's got that in the bag. She's going to prosecute that with the new director or presenting officer. But I use those things I've learned with Ethics and Rules Office. Title 26 even explains what you can and cannot do. So right now, I see a lot of times that people think that they have more authority than they actually do. I mean, it's spelled out for you in your duties and responsibilities, how much authority you have. A lot of people like to think like, well, we can allocate those monies, um, but I'd like to put stipulations attached to those monies that make sure that those monies, they go from here after we allocate it all the way over to where it's supposed to go, and then where it's supposed to benefit those people. I mean, the council, um, they allocate a lot of money to the chapters, a lot of money, millions of dollars every year they allocate to the chapters. And If those monies actually went to where they were intended, oh man, we'd have a beautiful place. We'd have a beautiful reservation. 26 years ago, I wrote all 110 chapters. I've seen a lot of beautiful country, but I've seen a lot of poverty also. And 26 years later, I rode those same roads and nothing significant has changed. We look like, oh, we're doing something good. Well, let's split up the $6 million and give it to the chapters. But we don't put any kind of stipulations to that. I mean, everybody right now is barking about this 24 million supposedly, um, but through the investigation, in fact, I'm the one that initiated the memo requesting for a special prosecutor because I had a couple of investigators that were investigating a small portion of it, but it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and till it got to where, you know what, we need this needs to, I mean, because it started involving a lot of people, and I'm still held to some confidentiality, so I won't go into specifics. But my investigators, they're the ones. They did a thorough job. They did a really good job, and we passed it on to the people that are going to prosecute this in the future.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah,
yeah, we're held to a higher standard, Cal, and so that's the high standard I want to take going forward as an elected official. You can't just come up to me and say, "Oh, I need," like at the chapter level, we trust our chapter officials, our chapter administrators to facilitate those monies and distribute it. You know, it's not our job, it's not the delegate's job to start demanding and going into the chapter house and demanding you do this, you better do this. No, that's not part of your duties and responsibilities.
okay. Thank you for giving us that kind of the list of some of the problems, some of the places that need to be have a corrective action. I think majority of the Navajo people out there, we didn't work for ethics and rules, or do we or work for the Navajo Nation? But we see it out here. My question still goes back to this: what is it that you use? It's more of a mental question. What did you use to be able to navigate, and what metric did you use to adjudicate or at least investigate these situations? Because there's a parallel. If you become the nomination council member, you said you would apply that same know-how. We're looking for how that you would resolve problems.
Education. Educate. I always tell people I did a lot of presentations for my office, and I always express to our community, educate yourself on the laws, what you can and do. When you're saying how did you make a determination of how we're going to go about a case, I mean, a lot of it it's laid out there in the law what we have authority to do and what we don't have authority to do. But a lot of it is also, I mean, when you go out there, common sense goes a long ways. You know, I've always I tell people I'd rather have someone by my side that has some common sense. They have a doctorate degree or whatever, but have no common sense. You're no good to me. So a lot of it is common sense, Cal, and whatever the law allows us to do and allows them to do. But I'm going to do everything in my ability to educate them. And not only that, refer them. Okay, this is. I'll walk them through there. I'll say, okay, this is the office we need to go to. This is the office that can do that for you, can assist you, and we can start it there. I don't have no problems walking them through the process, educating them on along the way. And so the next time that this happens, then they'd be educated, and then maybe they'll educate other people. Same thing with like veterans. My office was right next to the veterans office, and man, we used to have angry individuals come to our office complaining about the office, complaining about the procedures, complaining about how things are done. And then you have some of these veterans that are really, really elderly. And, I mean, when I get to the position, if I'm lucky enough to be elected, then, I want to establish some kind of outreach. A lot of people just throw an application in front of you and say, fill this out, turn it in. You got this much to do. You got this time limit. You got to do this. And, I mean, we need somebody like, some outreach program to go out there to these elderlies. A lot of them travel from long distances and then they wait in their vehicle. They come to our office. Can I have some water? Can I use the restroom? So someone that can actually go out there, take the applications, explain it to them. This is what's going to happen. So I definitely want to make it easier on the one thing, the two things I will always support is our veterans and our elderly. Those two I will always support first and foremost. So they need to, these things need to be addressed, and it just seems like throwing money at the Veterans Department, but it doesn't reach the veterans. I mean, there's policies that I want to change, and those this was kind of some of the stuff that I'm talking about.
Okay, thank you. Um, so uh, I appreciate that because like a lot of the stuff. I mean, we're talking about. I mean, you're kind of a unique in a very unique position because you do know the, I'm sure, the positive side, but because you were the executive director of ethics and rules, you know a lot of the dark side.
Yeah.
So transitioning from your position or your role, who you are now, you're going into the Navajo Nation Council. Uh, Obviously, our guess would be that your number one priority would be to take that knowledge and to possibly pass legislation so that we can improve the Navajo Nation government. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, yeah, that's my whole platform. Like I was saying, Cal, I want to change, upgrade, and update these laws to reflect the whole Navajo Nation. I mean, until we change it there in Window Rock, it's not going to trickle down to our local chapters, our local communities. They're not going to benefit from it. I mean, those things are the ones that's got to be changed. And I know with the Ethics and Rules Office, I got copies of legislations that we as an office were working on and that I want to go forward with changing. And I want to work with the office. I want to work with all these offices, with the elections office, with Dodie, with prosecutor's office on Title 17, with the you know grazing officials. I want to work to improve. I'm gonna be there listening to all of this stuff also. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the know-it-all person that that has all this knowledge. I mean, a lot of these people, um, these employees, some of these politicians, they have a great deal of knowledge, and we put all of our heads together, we'll come up with a solution to make the Navajo Nation a lot better. Think I lost you again, Cal.
What
Oh, okay, I hear you.
what sets you aside from your opponents?
Thank you for asking that. What sets me aside for the Navajo Nation, my fellow candidates, and and I told them the other day we had a candidate for him. I tip my hat to all these candidates that put themselves in this position for chaos and criticism and long hours and time away from family. I don't have anything against any of these people, and the people that I'm running against seem like good people. But one thing I do have more than what they have is knowledge of the government. Like I said earlier, with my experience with the government, I've studied all these policies, all these regulations, all these codes within the Navajo Nation that sets me apart. I got a head start on these guys that with the knowledge of Navajo Nation government and what needs to be changed and who I need to get with to get these things changed.
Very well. Um, the next thing is because this is part of the social issue. And since you bring it up, I'm going to go ahead and make a parallel between some of this extreme needs, and it's true. Karenle has tweed on hizani nastas linta. Oh, one day they're homebound. And the only solution in a lot of cases is to send them off the res. Now, besides that, what do you think is the number one problem besides what I just mentioned? Maybe secondary is a problem concerning our elders.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was just at my Coyote Canyon chapter house meeting, and we got a report from our CHR, and I'm thinking like, um, and that's what she was talking to us. She was like, well, we got a lot of elderly and within our communities. Please submit paper, give us information. We do welfare checks on our communities and make sure that they're treated well. So maybe we need to, if it seems like something's already established with the CHR program that looks at our elderlies, maybe we need to put more funding into care. I know there's a lot of home care type um, companies out there, but it seems like they just hire a warm body that can fill that position quickly. So maybe we need to work with social services and see if we can uh, set some money aside for something like that. What this lady with the CHR program was mentioning, and help our elderlies out there. I definitely within my communities, you know, uh, will check up on our elderlies. But yeah, I think, like I said, anything to establish some kind of care for our elderlies and our veterans, hey, I'm all for it.
Okay. Um, let's get into the topic of health. Speaking of healthcare, and I'm going to try to bring parallel between the healthcare and the elderly and the general population of the Navajo Nation. This is about healthcare and also the 638. There's a theory that is starting to circulate out there about how true this 638s are, because there's potential and there is abuse going on at the 638s because of they're independent. They run their own facilities, and therefore they can hire according to whatever their guidelines.
Hire and
Uh,
fire.
yeah, and it's a real problem. So, what do you support in general? The healthcare 638s.
Like I was saying earlier, I mean, if ultimately we want to be our own sovereign nation, I mean, we have to have our own healthcare. We have to have our own schools. Uh, but I think it needs to be attached to some kind of regulations. There's no oversight. We got to create oversight. Doty, they have a compliance office, but it consists of one person that I know of when I left, and there's no way she could be looking over all of these schools that are going off. And like I said before, they hire their, just like with certified chapters, they hire their own CPAs. And I mean, someone's got to be, we got to create an oversight to keep the honest people honest. And until we do that, we're going to continue to have these type of issues with our grant schools and our healthcare going into 638. But I think it's a good opportunity for the Navajo Nation. But we need to set, it's like, say with the ARPA funding, before something was actually really established, guidelines were created. These things, the offices were fully educated in how to distribute these ARPA funds, portals, everything. Boom, we started, before it was even, there was regulations or guidelines established. We just started giving community development all this money. And that's where it's like a lot of this mess was coming from. And that's where our investigation started. So we need to establish, whether it be a regulatory office or something within those departments. There's got to be some oversight. Always got to be some oversight over some of this money.
Okay. You kind of just talked about it in general terms. Let's get more specific. What is the 638 healthcare plan?
With the 638 healthcare plan, us getting funds to establish. During uh, these things with Congress and the Senate in the United States, is agreed upon that they were going to be giving us back our health care, our schools. We have just maybe a couple of schools that are BIE still. There's some grant schools that want to go back to BIE because of these things. But to me, I really am not totally opposed to our 630 receiving federal funds to establish our health care and our schools, Cal. But we got to establish some kind of regulatory department or some kind of oversight. And those are some probably ideals I need to share with social services, with Dodie. There are experts in those fields that we can work with and work together with to establish what I want to ultimately get going for the Navajo Nation.
It appears to me that these, no matter how you call it, 638 or IHS or any other entity the Navajo Nation owns, the issue is that they're technically a business. They need to generate money. They know how to allocate money and have the have it remain successful or hopefully successful. So, speaking from the entrepreneurial side, um, it takes a great deal of complex skills to run these healthcare centers. These healthcare centers are actually a multi-million, if not billion-dollar businesses. So right now, the enterprises are barely surviving. How do we, if you believe in it, knowing that the enterprises are struggling, are we ready to run healthcares?
I think, like I was telling you before, Cal, I think I think we can get there. I really do. I think once we establish oversight, we get. Instead of just like throwing monies to the problems or just to spend money, just to spend money. If we establish an office before we start establishing these facilities, then yeah, I think we can get there. I really do. Enterprises, yeah, they're failing. Man, you see enterprises coming to Navajo Nation Council, always requesting for funds to help their enterprises. Those probably need to be looked at. Look at our small business uh, people trying to start businesses on the Navajo Nation. There's so much red tape, and so they're fighting an uphill battle. That's why everybody's establishing things off the reservation, because they don't want to be triple taxed. I mean, and then plus go through all the red tape of having to deal with the Navajo Nation politics and red tape. It's tough. I mean, they're Navajo Nation right now. They're not pro small business at all, and I want to get in and look into some of those things also.
Okay. So staying on the healthcare 638s, let me ask you, because these organizations are, like I said, a business. Now, the 638s, all of them across the board, there's some that are with the natural resources. I just learned the other day. I have not heard of that, but there's boards in there. So um, there's a problem with the concept of this independence. This independent is creating a lot of abuse. The boards are, I'm not saying all of them, some of them are basically creating this little community within themselves. And I think that's really defeating the purpose of why we should have boards. And so if the board cannot, which they're supposed to be an oversight, and if HESI is supposed to be an oversight, when you bring up that we need oversight, how do you see that oversight and who will be the oversight?
Maybe we need to create an office. I mean, I'm not talking about our governing board being the oversight. A lot of these boards, like say school boards, uh, there's no qualifications as far as uh, being in the education field or any of that stuff, any kind of knowledge of, being on, and then, a lot of these boards, just like even with my position, being a council delegate, there's really no qualifications in being a legislator and creating laws and distributing millions of dollars to different departments, chapters, entities of the Navajo Nation. Yeah, maybe we do need some qualifications put with some of these things. Maybe those are discussions we need to have with the board of supervisors, with HESI and with Department of Social Services. Um, like I said, to me, I definitely don't want to give our health care and our schools back to the now to United States government, but we need to fix it internally. We can do it. I really do have faith we can do it. I know, I mean, you're talking about healthcare receiving millions and billions of dollars. I mean, so does grant schools. They get allocated millions of dollars also. And we see a lot of misuse of those. Um, but we need to we need to strive to correct those internally, instead of thinking, I mean, what's the alternative? Give it back to the United States? I don't think so.
Yeah, I still want to know what you think is the construct. What do you think? What is the construct of this oversight? This oversight you're talking about. We understand the problems. We see it. All of us do. But what is this oversight?
So the oversight, what I'm talking about when I say the oversight, I mean to create an office that actually, I mean, if there's I mean, you go to the New Mexico government, you go to the United States government, these monies that are being distributed for different governmental operations, there's always an oversight. There's always a department there that making sure that you're expending these monies the way they're supposed to be expended, to make sure that there's no red flags on your governing board. Overextending their authority, misappropriation, appropriating these funds. I mean, we can create an office like that.
Where would it be located? Under what is it?
You know what? It should
Independent?
be located there in Winter Rock. That's our central government. I know right now, it's kind of an embarrassment. I mean, I go to other tribes and do presentations, and they have started the state of the art facilities. You know, we have meetings there. We have they let us use their interview rooms. Then oh, can we visit? We want to visit when we go by Navo. Visit your office. Oh yeah, come on over. And they're looking at our office like, oh wow, they're in a double wide. You know, and I'm like, oh yeah, we don't actually have a central uh, one-stop shop type thing. You know, we need to create one there in Winter Rock. I mean, we're all in modular buildings there, and then if you're not in a modular building, you're renting from a private owner to establish office space. So it's like we really do need. At one time, early on, legislative, they had a plan to build a legislative complex, uh, and they even went so far as coming to our office, and we got to pick our own offices and stuff like that. And it was going to be, they were going to allocate money. And of course, all that fiasco, the delegates at that time, they started getting nuts, and they started saying, we want a swimming pool on top, and we want a helipad up on top of the building, and all this other crazy stuff. And it's like, you know, it seems like that's right now, that's the way the government is. It's like they're not being productive in how they're meeting and how they're establishing. I know for a fact, like me, if I go somewhere, people from across the Navajo Nation, they go to central office. They want to go to a one-stop shop. They want to be able to be able to go to a place. If it's a legislative, okay, all your legislative offices are here. I can go to elections. I can go to government development. I can go to ethics and rules office. I can go to the speaker's office. You know, all right there. But to this day, and I think it's an embarrassment for the Navajo Nation. We're all in modular buildings, and it shouldn't be that. With the largest tribe in the Navajo in the United States, I mean, we should be at the state of art complexes, be able to serve these people. I mean, I'm sure they want to go into a nice facility and get whatever they needed done.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Staying on 638, this is something that's basically going to be up your wheelhouse, and that is this. You've been in ethics and rules, and there's a lot of overlap with law enforcement. What if you should get elected, how would you resolve the current problem with this lack of law enforcement throughout the Navajo Nation? If you say that the 638s are getting millions of dollars, why do we have, like in Shiprock area where I'm from, only a station in Shiprock, and they barely get out to Sanasti or any other chapter? I think that's persistent throughout the Navajo Nation. How would you resolve that problem?
You know, being working with law enforcement prior, and then having some law enforcement that I hired with my office. I think we're going to get there. We've created our own police academy, and we're getting cadets out there on the streets. I think it's a matter of time that, and then if elected, I definitely will support, because I mean the safety of our uh, our citizens is priority number one. I mean, Title 17, I think it's really weak, needs to be better. Um our prosecution, I know, like I got hit by a drunk driver going to back home for lunch, and there was a police officer, Navajo police officer, ready to pull this individual over, but he swerved over and hit me head on. And at that time, yeah, it was never prosecuted. I bugged and bugged the prosecutor's office. When is this going to be prosecuted? Why is this? And also, they lost a file, and I think our prosecution. I think a lot of the police officers do their due diligence in responding. We do have a lack of uh, police officers out there, but I think those times are changing. I think we are going to be able to employ a lot more police officers, but there's a lot of requirements to being a police officer too, and there's literally one strike and you're out type thing because they can't be having any kind of domestic violence type issues within their inner circles, and so I think we're going to get there, Cal. But yeah, we definitely need to support our prosecutor's office. We need to support. I know the prosecutor's office; they're lacking prosecutors. At one time, the Navajo Nation had an abundance of attorneys and advocates. I think it's like 75% of our attorneys now are contracted. They're not regular status employees. So, I know that, yeah, I just think we need to support them as far as getting these people um, prosecuted. And I mean, you can go on to Navajo Nation now, and there's no really bad consequences of drinking and driving. A lot of non-Navajos come onto the reservation and drink and drive. You pay your $50 in the morning and you get out. There's no uh, breathalyzer or whatever that thing to start your vehicle. There's no suspension of your license. There's no consequences in that. And so we got a lot of our loved ones, you got loved ones that drive these roads. So we need to make sure that they're safe. So yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't get to choose, but I would definitely love to, if elected, be on the Law and Order Committee to help support these offices going forward.
Yeah, we do also see all the problems, but again, what is this formula, the plan? Step 1, 2, 3. How are you going to change this dynamics of the problem that's existing?
Step one is funding. It's always going to be funding. If we don't got the funding to pay these individuals to come and work for the Navajo Nation, I mean, we could even recruit from other police departments to come on. We need to give them some kind of incentive to stay, to be retained, and to work with them. Step two is better training. I mean, besides our police academy, if we can send our troops out there and make it look lucrative, like, wow, I want to work for the Navajo Nation. I want to be a police officer, and support. You got to support. You got to support these individuals out there. I know a lot of people. You hear a lot of criticism. A lot of it comes, and I know what you're talking about. I've been in the same situation. Waiting for a police officer to respond to an incident, and it is tough within our Navajo Nation. We have a big reservation, but we need to fill those positions, and the one way you fill these positions is funding.
Yeah, since you're pretty much kind of within the law enforcement, uh, is there with this Navajo Nation Police, whatever that office is called, do they have a board governing that organization?
You know what? I know they have a public safety director. Well, their oversight is the Law and Order Committee. It's not a board, but their oversight is the Law and Order Committee. Law and Order Committee is the one that uh, gives them funding and supports them on the police academy, and they get reports on how many new officers were put on the streets at a certain time. But yeah, the Law and Order Committee is the oversight for the police department.
So their oversight, but there's no board.
No board that I know
Really?
of.
So when you say
I
the
don't know
public,
why there would be. I don't know why there would be a board.
because it's kind of like a 638, I guess somewhere along the line they need to, because all 638, I think they're governing
No,
bylaws. They have
Yeah,
boards to be the oversight.
yeah, no, not Not that I know of. All I know is they report to, and their oversight is the Law and Order Committee.
Yeah. So I guess the assumption here is that if there's no funding currently going on right now, most likely the Law and Order Committee isn't giving enough attention to the police departments throughout the whole Navajo Nation because we don't have our police officers. They're not increasing. In fact, they're probably losing some of the, the personnel on the ground.
I can't personally speak to that, but you got to understand these cadets that go through these trainings. Uh, they go through an extensive training. I believe it's like a 6 month training, and then if you got 25 cadets that join, you might only have two or three that graduate that go all the way to the end. And that's like that. But, Cal, truthfully, that's like that with law enforcement all over. I remember when I went to the police academy back in the day, we started with 30 cadets and we only graduated with 14. But there's a lack of law enforcement everywhere you go in the United States. And I know we're dealing that with that also with the Navajo Nation, but the only thing we could do is support and fund them.
Okay, let's move on to schools. Predominantly, I want to ask about the colleges and universities on Navajo Nation. We've got NTU, the Net College, and both of those, they're obviously located. But currently, what's happening is the Navajo Nation Scholarship Office basically gives out scholarships. Like I would say, probably 95% of all the scholarships are for institutions based off the Navajo Nation. That's kind of an influx of Navajo Nation money going off reservations, and we're like overlooking. Should you get elected, do you think there's a problem first, and then how would you address making that shift?
I don't know firsthand about the scholarships that give given out by Doty. Uh, but one thing I can say, when you say they're going off reservation, um, I really don't have a problem with that. I mean, I don't have a problem with our youth going out, and we can't keep them here and say you have to go to Dene College or you have to go to NTU. I mean, these people want to spread their wings. You don't even have to stay in the United States. Go overseas, and I think we should support our kids in doing that. I mean, they create and they get a lot of experience, education, uh, going and spreading their wings in that aspect. And if there's a lack of our scholarships going to our own schools here on the Navajo Nation, I mean, I definitely will look at that. But I mean, to support our kids and where they want to go and how they want to expand their minds and their experiences, I'm totally all for that.
Okay, very well. Let's move on to the next topic, which is going to be about the Navajo Nation veterans. What do you think is the number one problem concerning the veterans?
I think the number one problem, as we were talking about earlier, is our veterans actually getting the assistance that they're requesting. I think there's a lot of red tape. I think I want that portion. I definitely do want to create some kind of outreach and let's go to our veterans. Let's go. A lot of them some of them are disabled. Some of them suffer from PTSD, and some of them are just elderly. I know my father, Marine, he requested for a home like 15 years ago through the Veterans Office, and he kept telling me, "Oh yeah, they're going to build me a home this year. They're going to build me a home. I gotta clear out this space." Just last year, he finally got a trailer, a two-bedroom trailer, and so I'm like, "Wow, it took that long." They promised him a house, but he got a trailer. At least he probably one of the lucky ones that actually got something. But uh, one of my investigators, a veteran, and or my former investigator was is a veteran. He's a Marine also, and yeah, just a lack of the red tape. And then those are the policies, those are the regulations I'm talking about that needs to be changed to help and support our veterans. I know that we allocate a lot of money to our veterans, but I think those monies, a lot of them are within the chapter budget, and maybe we need to create where the veterans control their own money to make sure that they're spent to where what they're supposed to be spent for.
Again, what do you think is the number one issue concerning the Navajo Nation or the Navajo Nation veterans?
That's my number one issue, Cal, that they're not getting assisted of what they're requesting. That's the number one issue. That's the number one complaint that I have heard, that I've seen. I don't know if you're getting something different, but to me, it's like you're requesting for some assistance and you're not getting it. To me, that's a number one issue.
Um, well, through the years, since I've been in Navajo Nation, there's always a lack of money. There's, disorganization. But ultimately, what I'm driving at is that since they serve for the United States Armed Forces, the Navajo Nation doesn't have armed forces. Why do you think the Navajo Nation gets stuck with taking care of these veterans and not the United States government?
When you say stuck, I don't like that word. When you say we're stuck with these issues with the veterans, I don't think we're stuck. I think that like when you're talking about this disarray within the administration or whatever, I mean that goes back to what I'm talking about. We need to change these policies. We need to change how these people are selected. We need to change the laws. I mean, we need to have definitely. I mean, I told you before, I'm going to always advocate for our veterans and elderly, our veterans and our elderly. I If they're not getting assisted by the United States government, the veterans that I know, they are they're getting assisted, but I don't think when you say we get stuck to support our veterans, even though we don't have an armed forces with the Navajo Nation per capita, uh, the Navajos per capita have the largest enlistment in armed forces than anybody in the United States.
Well, because right now you would think, since they serve with the United States government, why are they just being deserted by the United States government? And as it seems, people talk about there's tons of money coming through, but why is there a problem still persistent concerning the the veterans? When I say stuck, that's literally what is happening to the Navajo Nation. We, even though we didn't serve for our Navajo Nation, they serve for the United States government, but of course we're part of that United States government. So I absolutely love and honor every one of these veterans. Thank you. They did their job, but somebody's dropping the ball.
Remember, I have
That's
your
what I
picture
find.
hanging in my office on the picture that you made on those veterans. So I like what you're going there, but as I can't speak to the United States government or why they're not, if they're not assisting our veterans, but going forward, I'm going to take care of them. I'm gonna be the one out advocating for funds for the Navajo Nation. I'm not going to leave it to the United States government to assist our veterans.
Yeah. Johot Eshoshunanta, Junaik a council delegate in Yalewa. You're going to be one of the most powerful Native Americans in the world because we're the largest tribe. You're going to be in that position to make laws and to
Most definitely.
enforce. You're going to be part of that. You know what? Where the breakdowns are. So this is one of the breakdowns. So my assumption, and this not only including just you, but this is a question across the board. It is going to be in your job description for you to go to Washington as a
And advocate.
delegation of an advocate. You're going to be whatever who it is because we have a government to government relationship with the United States. To sit down with the United States president, to sit down with the Senate, to sit down with Congress. Yes, you will be able to go to Washington, D.C. And that is where I'm looking at. Case rather than just saying, well, just thinking within the Navajo Nation boundaries. Our language was used. I don't think the Navajo Nation will, or the United States government will ever be able to repay us. In fact, they owe us more than that. They owe us taking care of our veterans. So by not doing what they're supposed to do, our veterans are pretty much deserted and they're stuck with, okay, going back
Stuck
to
with
the
us.
Navajo Nation, stuck with us.
No,
And
don't. I don't like that.
so we're running around trying to resolve their issues while the United States government is barely putting, you know, pennies towards their health service. And furthermore, what I wanted to get was that if you're an advocate for veterans, I was trying to bring out what specifically those are. I can
So what
name
you're
right
doing
off
is
the
like
bat.
you're saying you want something specific. So I can't give you something specific right now. Nobody can. I mean, because when you go to something that you're not, uh, I mean, there's a lot of things within healthcare. There's a lot of things within our veterans office that I still need to educate myself. And there's, like I told you before, I need to converse with these people that have that expertise within that. I don't want you or anybody else coming back to this podcast and saying, "Hey, remember you said this, you said that. Remember you promised." No, man, you don't do. I mean, to me, it's like you're telling me, "Give me something specific." No, I can't give you nothing specific, Cal. I mean, you'd be to me. That's irresponsible. That's irresponsible because the people that are the expertise on that are the people there right now. And so, with me going to advocate for them, going to lobby for them for more money, then yeah, I'm going to talk to those people that are the experts in it and what we need to do. And they're going to. I don't want them to come back and say, "Hey, you said one, two, three. This is the way you're going to do it." That's not how to do it. This is, or you must not know what the heck you're talking about. And I don't want to be put in that position.
Well, I think the first thing, and I'll tell you two things.
Go ahead.
Healthcare. Healthcare. Right now, they're trying off the Navajo Nation. There has to be a resolution of how we can keep them home and provide that healthcare. That's doable. I'll tell
So
you
didn't
that's
I just tell
specific.
you that I want to create an outreach?
Yeah.
That's them. That's them going over to our veterans.
Okay. I'll give you the second one. Housing. So, these are the things that we all of us should do. I'm not running, but I know these things.
Yeah, but I
So,
spoke to both of those things. I told you about creating some kind of outreach, and I talked to you about funding them and how hard it is right now to get housing. I mean, that's to me, that's like that's automatic. I mean, that's yeah, you're right. Everybody knows that our veterans need housing, that our veterans need health care. And those are the stuff, I mean, but you're talking about specifically, to me, those are general. When you say that I'm telling you something in general. To me, that's in general. Yeah, we all know that they need housing. We all know that they need health care. And so that's why I do want to create that outreach. And yeah, housing. And I just told you a story about my father, Vietnam vet. You know, he requested for housing back 15 years ago, and he received a trailer like a year ago. But specifically, if you're going to tell me one, two, three, what are you going to do to fix this problem? No, I'd rather converse with the people that are the experts in these fields.
Okay, let's move on to tribally owned businesses. Uh, Again, I mean, these are basic information, something that I've listened to when I ran for the president of the Navajo Nation.
I
And
remember.
so, and then also working with the Navajo Nation government as a self-employed Navajo, and I had to learn every one of my clients from the Navajo Nation, and so I applied these ideologies and philosophy, their concepts, and so that's where so the thing that I'm looking at here is the ranches, auto enterprises. Uh, what's your philosophy on these ranches and enterprises?
With these enterprises, I think they're not generating money for the Navajo Nation. That's for sure. I mean, we need to restructure how we go about, you know, with these. When you're talking about small businesses, I mean, I know like Navajo shopping centers. It's hard for them to get people to occupy their spaces because of what we were talking about earlier. There's triple taxes on the Navajo Nation, and not only that, but the proposal process. I mean, if you're going to be competing against the enterprise or any of these, I mean, you're already dead in the water. And so once you put all that red tape to small, and I told you earlier, Navajo Nation, they're not pro small businessman, small business women. They are not. And so, I mean, even with economic development, with business regulatory, I mean, we need to give them. They're called business regulatory, but they don't got no. They can't enforce anything. They can write you a letter and say, don't do this or don't do that. They're there to watch the open bids, but when it comes to fairness about bidding and stuff like that, they don't. And then when there's a dispute or if there's somebody that's not qualified to be in those positions, they don't step in. So definitely we need to be able to have our economic development office, our business regulatory, be able to halt projects that maybe don't have qualified people that are in there. The ranches, I don't even know why we're in the business of that right now. I don't see it being profitable for the Navajo Nation. I do agree with buying land, but we can also definitely do other things with those that property other than ranching. Um, I mean, we can start establishing a lot of things economically. I'll give you like Say Benito, for instance. I mean, everybody's on the Say Benito side because they're trying to stay off the Navajo Nation. Just recently, I heard they're going to build a auto zone right there in San Benito. I was in AutoZone the other day, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to build auto zone right there in San Benito." So everybody stays off the Navajo Nation, right? And that's just hurting the Navajo Nation as a whole. Economically, we're not profiting from any of these businesses that are developing uh, right outside the borders of our Navajo Nation. We should be a more welcoming, um, business-oriented government to where we would be able to, because a lot of our people, they live in rural areas. And now gas prices being the way they are, it's tough going to getting to Farmington, out there to Flagstaff, Page, Gallup. I mean, we need to start having a lot of these places there at home.
Okay. In terms of, let's get into the enterprises. And the reason why that we need to ask these basic construct in the makeup of the Navajo Nation government. We own businesses at the time that it was a great idea, but now, not so much so. So, because here's the thing, you're talking about funding. One of these times you're going to be sitting in Window Rock. There's going to be a request for additional funding. There's going to be a downside of that request, and then there's the upside. That's the very thing that um, I am that we're all interested, because it comes down to money. Are they a surplus, or are they a deficit? So how would you gauge, once you get into the office, of which enterprise deserves surplus, or yeah, just give us your thoughts on that.
I think they need to prove their worth. I think they're all right now. It's like a deficit. I mean, they're not generating as much money as they should be. I mean, a lot of people. I've even heard it on council floor about Joe Biden, but a lot of these enterprises, yeah, they need to be held accountable for. I know at one time, and it's probably still going on. I mean, there's people squatting in a lot of these NHA houses. They're not being renovated. People are living there free. A lot of these people aren't being evicted. Um, oh, I'll give you another example. I remember there was in Pine, Navajo Pine. They had a market there. But we were talking about law enforcement earlier. You had these brothers, and they were known in the area. They'd carry bats into the market, grab groceries uh, and drinks, and they would just tell the clerk, "Go ahead, call the cops." Because at that time they would get away with it. And also the owner said it's not profitable to be keeping business here because all my profits are going out the door. And I think that's what a lot of outside businesses think right now with doing business with the Navajo Nation. But as far as the enterprises go, I mean, I need to look, and I will look if elected, and see what their profits and their deficits are, and see where we're lacking, and see what we can do to fix those things. Because right now, to me, it seems like it's all a deficit. Naval Arts and Crafts, you know, uh, Quality in NHA. I mean, there's a lot of enterprises within the Navajo Nation that we really need to take a look at.
Okay. So, there's another aspect to this too, and it also laps over into the school system. It also lapses into the healthcare and the enterprises, you know, specifically about boards. Joy Kadhoton, you probably have investigated these scenarios. Toda na ikeda del chuarun da ikijako. Ako Abini na some of these board people, they literally, this is no longer a public service or an oversight. They're just there to make money and how much money they can pass among themselves. I'm not saying all of them, but I've heard enough to know that does happen. If you get
Oh,
elected, how
it
would you
does
break that
happen.
up?
It does happen, Cal, and not only there to make money, I mean, but to travel. I've filed on some of these board members, say in the school board capacity. Then when I went to go serve them their complaint, they literally live in poverty. But when they get to an elected position, they're treated like royalty. They get to go to all the nice places, stay at all the nice places, eat at all the nice places. So yeah, I mean that fraud concept comes into play with these board members because when they're the employees' contracts depends on these board members. So yeah, they're going to cater to these board members, and these board members, it literally gets to their heads to where they take advantage of the system. And so when I'm talking about, changing policies and regulations, I mean, those are all included. I mean, I want to look at some of these people's bylaws, what they're what they're authorized to do, what they're not authorized to do, how much compensation through stipends that they're allowed to get at a certain time. If we can start regulating this, and then maybe get certain authorities as it speaks to the administration, because when administrators are afraid of their employment, pretty soon and also they start misappropriating money, helping the governing board, whether it be the chapter, whether it be a school board, whether it be enterprise board, oversight board. Yeah, I've seen that with like Fort Defiance Hospital. I've seen that with NHA, NTUA, even with Dene College, bunch of grant schools, bunch of chapters. So yeah, definitely, we need to look at see, because a lot of these things, a lot of these policies, a lot of these regulations, even if I have to say a majority of them, haven't been changed in decades. And I don't know. They need to be changed. They need to be upgraded, and they need to be updated.
Jonah, I wouldn't agree with you more. I mean, that's we've got to elect leaders in there that will be able to see that there's a greater need that encompasses the entire whole Navajo Nation. It's very important, rather than just coming to Window Rock to collect money, and that goes for the board. There's a certain responsibility. And I've seen that myself in the past 40 years that I've operated my business and work with Navajo Nation, and I live on the Navajo Nation. And so these are the questions. They're hard questions. They're deep philosophical questions. Ako koro e na itish kirot o ye got o abi no gahiat o beden khal gocho na ite kido khait o e tiri this candidate khait on sick case o khait o e hot o in late and that o usage at the hadna I can't not all night because we don't know him, we don't know her, and so that's the basis of why that these things why we're doing this. So let's get on to the next topic. Window rock ding in the yao. Oh, taguya. Speaking of investigations and probes and special prosecutor and all this, we're sick and tired of the Navajo Nation government, especially the office of the president and the vice president, and all. Well, there's fighting there. There's also a fight between the executive and legislative branch. Kade, you look at the budget and finance hearing. I mean, what a chaos! It's a chaos. We're looking for somebody or somebodies to come and bring us a solution, how we can fix this. It's a horrible situation. What are you going to do to resolve that?
Cal, I agree with you. I told you earlier that this is the worst I've seen on both sides of the street since I've worked with the Navajo Nation. Uh, but me requesting for a special prosecutor, and we forward this case to the prosecutor's office, and well, they got the same complaint also, and not only that, but other agencies. Um, just trust that something's going to be done. I mean, there's say hypothetically a federal agency got a hold of this. I mean, they've investigated chapters that we forwarded to them for $30,000, and their investigation for $30,000 ended like in 2 years, and then they file. They got to make sure that everything is good, and it's gonna be result in a prosecution of this individual. Same thing with the special prosecutor. Yeah, same thing when I was leaving my office. I told the oversight, the people that were I was giving a report to, that trust the system. I know it's slow, but you got to trust these individuals. They're attorneys, they're experienced investigators. And like I told you before, my investigators are one that started this investigation. They did everything. I think they did a very thorough job. Other departments, other agencies were very impressed with their investigation. This investigatory hearing, when I was first approached by Ms. Parrish about it, I told her it wasn't a good idea. There's nothing they're going to ask. This is totally up for the public, for them to be in the public and act and think like they're doing something. That's all that is. Because they're not going to ask, they're not going to receive, they're not going to get anything that hasn't already been asked, hasn't already been received. In fact, the people that are going to actually prosecute this case, they got way more. They've asked way more than what you've seen in social media and on YouTube. But but I know it's tough, but it's going to take a little while. I mean, that's just the way investigations go. I wish that you could investigate and file something tomorrow, but no. I think with this chaos with social media. I mean, you got people that aren't even educated in the government that are spewing their opinions, and everybody runs with it. You know, we're used to the first thing we hear is what we believe. You know, and so it's like that's what's happening right now in social media, and it's yeah, it's bad. So I think that yeah, they're not nothing's going to result in this investigatory hearing. They're not going to get anything that hasn't already been gotten. They're not going to receive testimony that hasn't already been testified to. All the people that didn't show up to their investigatory hearing, my former investigators, they interviewed all of them. And so there's enough information there that whoever's going to prosecute this, whatever's going to happen going forward, it'll happen, but it just takes a little time.
Yeah, because you're going to be there as a council delegate, part of the body that is currently having a problem with the executive branch. So, um,
You can't
so let
say
me just,
that. You can't say, because like I said, when I get in office, hopefully we'll get different delegates in office. We got to create a rapport. I'm not going into office thinking I'm going to have a problem with the executive branch. I mean, we have to work together. We got to. It can't be like this last administration. So I disagree when you say you're going to have a problem with executive branch. No, we're going forward. We got to think positive. We got to be positive. And when I'm going to recreate a rapport with anybody and everybody that is going to benefit the Navajo Nation.
yeah, I appreciate that. There's still a problem. Uh, let's bring Title II and the Office of Government Development. How does that filter into this discussion?
I don't know, truthfully, government development. I mean, as far as creating some kind, I mean, I sat in one of the presentations for government reform, Navajo Nation government reform. And I was very disappointed in the presentation. I was very disappointed in the information that they were bringing forth. I mean, it just was terrible. I mean, there was multiple times even recently, because there was no productivity coming out of that office, that they were trying to get rid of the office. I remember even as far back as the 88, when we had 88, they were like, what's actually coming out of that office? What are we benefiting from funding this office? So when you say government development, I don't know. The only thing I went and looked at their presentation on government reform. It was very disappointing to me. And I don't know how they fit in all of this, tell you the truth, because they haven't fit in all of this for a long time.
Well, what about Title II?
Title II on the establishment of the government. I mean, oh man, I think that because we're in Title II also with the Ethics and Rules Office, uh, uh, as well as the council, and so those are some of the things. I mean, even with my office or my former office, uh, I want to look at and change. I mean, there's a lot of things that's happening at the council level that I want to change, and how we're going to change it. I mean, we definitely got to do it by some type of referendum or reform in voting. Uh, but currently, I just don't. I don't know. I don't know how we're going to. I don't want to say disparaging words about anybody that's currently working, but yeah, we need to figure something out. Something needs to change.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Lana Honda. You're listening to Politics on the Navajo Nation. I'm your host, Cal Nez, and our guest this evening is Mr. LEWNELL Harrison, and he is running for council for the following chapters: Nahash City. Um, let's see, what does it say here? Tohachi, Bahasla, Auto Mexican Water, and Coyote Canyon. So we're having a discussion, and it's really what it is, what this is all about. And I really appreciate Mr. Harrison for being here with us this evening, and welcome all you listeners. You must be pretty popular, Mr. Harrison, because there's a lot of people listening and commenting online. So, um, so um, yeah, let's go to the last topic. That last topic is economic development. And economic development, to me, it's an idea, it's a theory, it's an ideology. The physical aspect are existing on the Navajo Nation. But I'll be honest with you, it's not working.
Mm-mm.
Ako dikwa sa adlange na ish kirigi e judabansan kesi et o at ish athi economic development.
I think like with we were talking about earlier, you got to be small businessman friendly. You know, if you want to establish more business on the Navajo Nation, I mean, right now we got a lot of food stands, and I mean, seriously, if you're going to try to recoup money from being a small business, I mean, Navajo Nation's got to be business friendly. And right now with the economic development, I mean, I don't think that they're oh man, I mean, I got so many issues with economic development and how they proceed and helping the small business, making sure that they get established. You know, there definitely needs to be some kind of help coming from that office. I mean, a year ago today or last week when they had the economic summit, Uh, there was a guy named Bob Worsley that was there, and because of this whole Zinni Home stuff, every delegate, all these delegates got a picture with him, the president, and economic development. I don't know where this came from, but all of a sudden they give this guy an award for being such a great guy, and I mean he hadn't done nothing yet, and yet we're giving him an award. If we could foresee what happened in this fiasco, I mean, this guy don't care. I mean, it's happened time and time again. It's like we have outside interests coming into the Navajo Nation and ripping us off. Everybody's talking about with social media, where's the 24 million? You know, well, that's where it's at. Not only that, but what about the rubber glove company? We had this other person come into the Navajo Nation. As soon as the $30 million hit his bank account, he left the country. How come nobody's crying about that? How come nobody's going after that? How come nobody's reporting those to the feds? And the only reason my office at the time uh, found out about Zinni Homes and all that stuff was because it started with an investigation under for Chid Homes and how that process was going. It just started opening up can of worms, and it got bigger. So to me, it's like economic development. Man, they sure cater to outside interests, people that aren't even Navajo. And then, I mean, we have a lot of Navajo entrepreneurs that can do a lot of this stuff, but they don't cater to our Navajo business people. I'm sure you said you were a businessman. I'm sure that you were shorthanded and are probably even overlooked for a non-Navajo or outside interest in whatever you do with Navajo Nation economic development. So yeah, I definitely want to look into that office with economic development and maybe create better regulations, better policies on how we help our Navajo Nation people, help our Navajo Nation uh, establish businesses, get them help and not just throw applications to them. You got to be this, you got to do this, you got to, I mean, it seems like they're waiting for us to fail, and we shouldn't be like that to our own people. We should definitely, when they say Navajo first, that definitely isn't what's happening right now throughout the Navajo Nation. It's not. So through economic development, I do want to look into better policies, better regulations, look under the code that oversees them, and go from there. I mean, we have educated people that should have been doing this already, but because of photo ops or getting a shovel in your hand and getting a picture, that seems like it's more important than actually looking at the structure of what created this office and how it benefits our people.
Well, I'm really shocked. I'm glad you reported that to us here and told us about that. Are you really serious that this year they gave an award to Robert Worsley?
Not this year, last year.
Oh, last year.
Yeah, last
Right.
year.
Okay, right about the time when he was ready to
Yeah,
set his hooks on us. I dare that guy to come on air with me. You know,
yeah.
that is a sick situation. But but in any case, economic development. We're still talking about economic development. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Uh, what is Navajo Business Opportunity Act?
The Navajo Nation Business Act is a farce. Like I was telling you before, they don't support the Navajo Nation. It's like they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be a priority one, and they're supposed to be to where they help establish a business for Navajo entrepreneurs coming on. But it's just, yeah, it just needs to be redone.
Sorry about that. I
There you
accidentally
are.
pushed. Sorry about that. I pushed the wrong button. Um, One of the things that I'm looking at is that I'm so glad. You know, we do need to have people who are there with your type of experience because you've seen all the downside of the Navajo Nation government and some of its leaders. If you can have somebody in the council seat that can see the comprehensive picture rather than just a little aspect of this, and I think that's important. Um, so the Navajo Business Opportunity Act, I think, is really, really, really important. Um, like right now, do you think the Navajo Nation enterprises should be listed with the Navajo source list?
No, I don't. I think that gives them an unfair advantage. Hey, Cal, you know, I don't have my phone charger with me, but I just got like a 5% notice that my phone's going to kill over here pretty soon.
Yeah, this is so that's basically pretty much the last topic. A call for the next few minutes.
I'll be back.
Thank you very much for being here with us. We had a great discussion. Now, give us your closing comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Before my battery dies, just short and sweet. I want to go in there. I worked with every part of the government concerning elections, chapter government, school grant schools, the council. So every part of the government that I had to work with, I'm knowledgeable about. And there's changes that need to be done. There's stuff in title in our my that I used to enforce with the ethics laws that bounded my hands. A lot of people, like I said, used to think that we could throw people in jail. People said, "Hey, they just got a slap on the hand." But what then? Things like, well, we did it to the fullest extent of what the law allowed us. It's an administrative function. It's an administrative violation. So those are the sanctions we did. But I want to go in and I want to change, upgrade, and update these laws to benefit the Navajo Nation. Because if we don't change it there in Window Rock, it's not going to trickle down to the local communities. I've investigated for instance, chapters where there's a project ready, we're ready to go. Money's held up in Window Rock because of some red tape or whatever it could be. Then also they tell them re-advertise, get applications, and that just frustrates the local community. And so it's like, come on, guys. I mean, we can't just throw money to chapters without any kind of stipulations attached, any kind of regulations attached. When we do that, that's what happens. That's what happens, and that's where our money goes. That money gets stolen. We got to make sure that we hold these people accountable that are doing services for the Navajo Nation, especially when it results in millions of dollars. We gotta. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna stop this. You have to pay to play type thing. I know there's a lot of with higher up government bodies that, a lot of these small businessmen, they're like, hey, buddy, you got to pay to play. I'm going to stop all of that stuff. And I know the people to talk to. I know the people to report it to. And I will report it and I will support them if we're going to prosecute them. So I appreciate, Cal, you giving me this opportunity to vent and discuss what you brought forward. And I look forward to hopefully serving my communities in the capacity as a representative, as a lawmaker. And I can't, that's all I got. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, Lana, you're listening to Politics on the Navajo Nation. We had Mr. Llewell Nelson. At the opening.
LEWNELL Harrison.
Oh, LEWNELL Harrison, excuse me. My screw up. Um, So he's been here with us, and he's advocating to become your council delegate in the chapters that he's running. That's absolutely powerful with his knowledge about what he's saying. There you go, right there. Mr. Llewell Harrison. Thank you.
LEWNELL. Put an N there.
LEWNELL. Okay, LEWNELL Harrison. So,
Yeah.
so
Or just
yeah,
call
go
me
ahead
Lou.
and Lou. Okay, so thank you again.
Obrigado.
So we'll talk to you very soon and take care and hagona.
Oh, go now.